Hello everybody, I'm Kevin Rissmiller and I'm doing a Facebook Live and a YouTube video at the same time, and I'm an author of books Pilot Prison and I Worked for Trump, available exclusively on Amazon. I'm doing this video for one of my many groups. This particular video is for my Kevin Rissmiller Ministries group. I would ask that everyone subscribe to my YouTube channel where one of these videos will be posted. Please like the videos and posts that you see on my pages. My books are available exclusively at Amazon.com. If you wish to purchase one, simply type in my first and last name into the Amazon search box and you will locate my books that way. I want to thank you also for my thousands of fans all over the world who have been loyal and faithful and very good people from all kinds of countries everywhere. I've been very impressed with the way the word's gotten around, and I'm asking you to help spread the word, to share your familiarity with me. I'm trying a new camera, a new laptop with the Facebook Live video, so I'm curious as to how well this one's going to work. So please give me some feedback on that. My company is Rissmiller Media, which its logo is Food for the Mind. You've heard of Food for Thought. This is Food for the Mind is the logo for Rissmiller Media, my company. And please do message me if you have any interest in anything. I'm going to briefly speak about the different pages and groups that I have. Again, I ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You simply search YouTube for my first and last name and you will locate the channel. I need to build some subscribers on that, so please go there and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's lots of videos available there. I have an authors page on Facebook. Again, if you search my name on Facebook, you should get multiple shots on that. One of them will be my authors page. I appreciate you liking that. I have a lot of groups. I'll list them in a moment while I build an audience here on the Facebook Live. And I would ask that you like all of my pages. I have the authors page. I also have a book for a Trump book page, Pilot Prison by Kevin Rissmiller page, a Rissmiller Media page, a page for my upcoming book, How Monsters Reproduce, a Christian book that I'm working on called God Showed Up. I would like you to go ahead and like those pages as well. Another book that I'm working on called Tell Me a Story. I have a page set up for that. I'm also putting together a clothing line based on one of the characters from my book Pilot Prison, and that's the kitty cover, both spelled with K. Kitty cover spelled with K's. There's a kitty cover page and a kitty cover lingerie outfits and clothing, which is where I'm going to be selling those types of clothing based on one of the characters in my book Pilot Prison, a character named Ellie. And I have a page called Intellectual Intercourse, which will be for podcast shows I'm putting together. I have a page for reality show, another page for the called Republican Party Place, which is associated with my I Worked for Trump book, and a fun page to go to if you like music and those entertainment and talent shows like America's Got Talent and American Idol and things of that nature. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. It's called Talent Show, simply. It's a page called Talent Show. I'd like to mention my groups. I have groups. The first group I would like to ask you to join is Kevin Rissmiller Fans and Friends. The next one is called Avatars and Inmates of Pilot Prison Fan Site. And that is that's one, there's all kinds of cool stuff in that one. Again, that one's called Avatars and Inmates of Pilot Prison Fan Site. Of course, where I'm making this particular video for is Kevin Rissmiller Ministries, which is where I'm trying to put together a ministry site for the purpose of helping everybody, really. It's a ministry site, but it's got some specific goals. You can go there and read about them. I have a site for free speech. And that's called, it's a long title, it's called Vent, Say, Ask, Anything You Want, Open Forum, Free Speech, Free Thinking. One of those long group titles. I have another group related to Donald Trump. Again, I have a book called I Worked for Trump, and a lot of my Donald Trump posts I now put into my group called, and you'll get a kick out of this one, U.S. Space Force Starship Donald Trump. I thought it was a cool name since he did the whole Space Force thing, and I'm a sci-fi geek. It seemed to fit. I have another group called Pilot Prison Chapel, where you meet your partner, which is basically what it sounds like. It's a dating group to try to people go and hopefully meet somebody. And another group I have, which is science oriented. That's where it's all basically science oriented. It's all, again, based out of my book Pilot Prison, because the hero in the book, which has a beautiful young role model character who is the leader in the book, her name is Kaylee. Her and a group of her friends that she has online, which are also a bunch of wealthy, smart, young people from around the world, form this club or group or organization called Science Faction. Not fiction, but faction, F-A-C-T-I-O-N, and in parentheses, Team Voyance Pilot Prison at Amazon. That's the full title. It's called Science Faction dash bracket Team Voyance bracket dash Pilot Prison at Amazon. Of course, again, it's related to the book Pilot Prison, but it's probably also going to wind up being a spin-off book series about the group and things that they do. I also have a group called Booth Babes, Calendar for Charity. Rissmiller Media, Kevin Rissmiller. Now, let me briefly explain. I didn't even know what Booth Babes was until years ago when I first started to promote my books. If you've ever gone to conventions and you've seen the pretty girls who are there handing out free stuff in front of booths, eye candy as it were, you know, the girls in the sexy clothes, sexy outfits, out in front of the booth, they're to bring traffic in. The eye candy is going to draw people in, obviously. And I'm intending to do book tours again, and I want to go around the country in different conventions and locations and have already established there young ladies who would like to work at the booth doing the, you know, sexy outfit handout stuff thing, probably whatever tchotchke stuff I can put together to promote my books and my company. And I'll do autograph signings and speak to people about my, you know, speak to fans and so forth. And of course sell copies of my books there. But I'm going to need help setting up prior to getting there and somebody to help me there. And that's what Booth Babes is designed for. But Calendar for Charity part is associated now with the ministry too, because the idea is once I get enough regular Booth Babes put together, then, and I'm going to be opening a Booth Dudes thing, so guys and ladies, you know, it's free, equal, you get the idea. Anyway, so the calendar will be put together and sold, and the profit, it's not for profit, it's the funds raised after all the, you know, paper and such is paid for, will go towards charitable organizations and causes, perhaps to the ministry, but also, not just to the ministry. I have a few favorite charities. The Ronald McDonald House is one of my personal favorite charities, as well as the Red Cross, maybe the Salvation Army too. And each of the Booth Babes will be able to suggest what charity that they would like their portion to go to, because it is, again, for community service. It's to help people. And on the level of community service, the last of the list of groups I have that I'd like you to join them all, if you could, if you want to, is called Group Therapy, Seek Help for Your Problems. And the reason I made that group is basically most help organizations, most therapy you go to, you usually get offered to be in a group. If any of you remember the old Bob Newhart show, they had group therapy back then in the comedy show. And in essence, it's an online group for you to go in and seek help and advice with your problems. I even made a little separate feed or a stream or whatever you're preferring to call the section for the haters, because you're going to have them. And I do my best to monitor this. I need some help. Anybody who wants to contact me to give me some help, I'd appreciate it. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to get a jump start on tomorrow's reading of Proverbs 14. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, I've started this project for daily devotionals, daily reading. And the daily readings, if you don't already know, in the Bible, in the center of the Bible, I mean, little, if you crack it open in the middle, you should hit either Psalms or Proverbs. They're right next to each other. The book of Proverbs in the Old Testament has exactly 31 chapters. Now, if you think about it, the most days in a month is 31. So, if you look at it the way I do, technically the Bible already comes with a daily devotional built into it. And those devotions or daily devotional readings are each chapter in the book of Proverbs. In other words, whatever day of the month it is, like today is the 13th. I already did the 13th and uploaded, and I'll get to why I'm doing it this way now. The 13th, I read chapter 13. Now today, what I'm doing is I'm getting a head start on 14. Now the live video obviously is going to go up today. The problem I have is the slow upload sometimes with the YouTube. So, because the device I use it on, one of my tablets, is a slow upload. And this one's going to be particularly slow because it's such a large video I'm doing right now. But that's okay, because I'm doing it in a day in advance so it can be uploaded in time for the actual date. The first one I didn't go up until like 7 o'clock the night of that date. And so I'm learning through trial and error as I go here. So again, basically, and the version I'm reading from today is a New King James version of the Bible I got given to me when I went to church, one of the local churches. I'm still shopping around, as it were, for what church I would like to start attending. Well, that reminds me, tonight one of the local churches has a movie. Excuse me. So, getting back on track here, I think there's a few other things I wanted to mention. I think I covered it all. Let me see. I believe I did. If I missed something, that's okay. I'll just chalk it up to getting my rhythm together for doing this. So, I see I've got a couple people have joined in on the live, if you're still with me. If not, this I'm really doing for the reposting video. I'm going to go ahead and start reading today's proverb. Today's proverb chapter 14, which is actually for tomorrow. Again, as I just stated, I'm doing this one a day in advance because of the long upload for the YouTube channel, because I have my own YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube, type in my first and last name. There's a whole channel there where I have tons of videos you can also watch. But let me stop yapping here and start reading. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. The wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands. Verse 2 of chapter 14. He who walks in his uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is perverse in his ways despises him. Verse 3. In the mouth of a fool is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Verse 4. Where no oxen are, the trough is clean, but much increase comes by the strength of an ox. Verse 5. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. Verse 6. A scoffer seeks wisdom and does not find it, but knowledge is easy to him who understands. Verse 7. Go from the presence of a foolish man, when you do not perceive in him the lips of knowledge. Verse 8. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Verse 9. Fools mock at sin, but among the upright there is favor. Verse 10. The heart knows its own bitterness, and a stranger does not share in its joy. Verse 11. The house of the wicked will be overthrown, but the tent of the upright will flourish. Verse 12. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Verse 13. Even in laughter, the heart may sorrow, and the end of mirth may be grief. Verse 14. The backslider in heart will be filled with his own ways, but a good man will be satisfied from above. Verse 15. The simple believes every word, but the prudent considers well his steps. Verse 16. A wise man fears and departs from evil, but a fool rages and is self-confident. Verse 17. A quick-tempered man acts foolishly, and a man of wicked intention is hated. Verse 18. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Verse 19. The evil will bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of righteousness. Verse 20. The poor man is hated even by his own neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Verse 21. He who despises his neighbor sins, but he who has mercy on the poor, happy is he. Verse 22. Do they not go astray who devise evil? But mercy and truth belong to those who devise good. Verse 23. In all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. Verse 24. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the foolishness of fools is folly. Verse 25. A true witness delivers souls, but a deceitful witness speaks lies. Verse 26. In the fear of the Lord there is strong confidence, and his children will have a place of refuge. Verse 27. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to turn one away from the snares of death. Verse 28. In a multitude of people is a king's honor, but in the lack of people is the downfall of a prince. Verse 29. He who is slow to wrath has great understanding, but he who is impulsive exalts folly. Verse 30. A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones. Verse 31. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. Verse 32. The wicked is banished in his wickedness, but the righteous has a refuge in his death. Verse 33. Wisdom rests in the heart of him who has understanding, but what is in the heart of fools is made known. Verse 34, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. The final verse of chapter 14 of Proverbs, verse 35, reads, "The king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him who causes shame." And thus ends the reading of chapter 14 in the New King James Version of the Bible. Not sure where I put my bookmark. Oh, there it is. That's why I was looking around. I appreciate your listening to me read about this. And I'm going to briefly speak about the type of Bibles being used. I've studied a long variety and list of Bibles, and I'm going to just basically go over the fact that there's two different types of Bible translations for those of you who may not be familiar. There is the word for word, like King James, New King James, which is an updated version of it, basically, the English Standard Version, and several others. And then there's the thought for thought. Thought for thought is, my favorite would be the New Living Translation, or Bibles basically that do as the thought for thought says. And let me give you an example of what I mean between word for word and thought for thought. In the original context or text written in the Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic of the texts of the Bible, you're hearing in the background my hourly clock in the living room going off. It's a Christmas clock, so if you hear Christmas music, that is what it is. But word for words, where they take the actual wording of the Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic of the Bible and try to just basically bring it over into whatever language they're translating it into, thus a word-for-word translation. Now the problem with that is we don't talk like the way they did in that language, and their syntax, or the way they place their words and in what order and what's plural and what's feminine or masculine, is not necessarily how we do it now, so it can make it very difficult. One of the examples I like to use about that is in, I believe it's Matthew 5:25 or 25:5. I might be dyslexic in my head, but they refer to, and I believe it's the only location of it there, phylacteries, I believe is how it's pronounced. And what they had a practice of was they'd have a box on their wrist and a box they'd keep on their forehead where they'd keep scriptures in there. Now, the word-for-word translation goes phylacteries. Well, when you read it, you go, what? Unless you have a real good study Bible that breaks it down in little asterisks, you'll go down to the bottom and read, you don't know what a phylactery is. But a thought for thought will say a little box that you keep scripture in based on a tradition. And I think the best illustration of that would be if I was trying to speak to someone else who spoke only French, and there was an interpreter. And in my speaking, I said, boy, we just got out of there by the skin of our teeth. Well, the interpreter would not translate that word for word. He would not say skin of teeth, because the French would, skin of teeth, what is this? I do not understand. You know, of course, they'd say it in French. I can't talk French. The translator would say, well, they just got out of there in the nick of time, or whatever the French version of that would be, because that is a thought for thought translation. And so there are thought for thought Bible translations. I've read all different types, cover to cover, and I like the thought for thought translation because it's very good at giving us the idea of what's being said in a way that we can easily understand when we're reading. The word for word translation, the more scholarly version, gives us the, and a lot of people say, well, I only read the King James. I call them King James purists. And the thing of it is, King James is a word for word. And you may not realize it, but very often you're getting a translation because you go to your Sunday service and the pastor will get up there and say, the phylacteries, and then he'll stop and he'll go, and by the way, that word phylacteries means that box. They used to put scriptures in boxes on their foreheads and on their wrists, and that's what that means. So you're getting an on-the-fly translation from the guy who's preaching to you. If you're reading it and you hit a word you don't know, you'll have to go to your Bible dictionary, so you're doing the translation yourself when you hit words like that you don't understand when you're reading a King James and you hit words that you go, and if you hit a word you don't know and you're not looking it up, then you're not getting the full meaning of what's being said anyway. So that's why one of the things I do like, and I need to get again, is a parallel Bible. And one of the ones I like, there's a lot of different translations. One of the things I like about the Amplified Bible is it tries to give you all the different potential variations of what is being said. Because sometimes when a translator hits a word, just like in text, if you're texting with somebody and you text something, and your idea of what you're saying is in your head, because in your head you're saying a joke or you're saying this or that, and the other person will read the text and their head's not where your head's at, and they'll read the text completely different from what you had said or what you had meant to say. And all of a sudden they're shooting back all these fiery, angry emojis, and what are you talking to me like that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what do you mean? So you wind up having to explain that it was a joke, or explain that it's a misunderstanding, and hope the other person is still communicating with you and listening and understanding. Well, that's similar to what goes on with translations of the Bible, because the translator is translating what they think it means, but if they're not on the same page, like the text scenario, with who was originally writing it, you might not be getting what the original context was, or their best guess on it is what you're getting. One of the things about the Amplified Bible, and it's a lot longer and bigger for this reason, is it gives you all the varying possible meanings behind each verse as translated. I'm trying to help you people who may or may not know what Bible to read or which one is. Again, the King James purists, I understand, and you can have a King James parallel with an Amplified, or parallel with a Living Bible, and that's really good. Parallel Bibles, those, because what a parallel Bible is, for those of you who don't know, is a side-by-side interpretation where on this page or on this column, depending on how they format it, you might have a page with two columns, and on this column will be the King James, where right next to it will be the other translation of the Bible, Amplified or New King James or NIV or English. Well, it would kind of be silly to have English Standard because they're both basically word for words. Just to give you, and this is on what is called the Protestant Bible. Now, here's one other thing I'm going to throw at you real quick before I've already run on too long anyway, so. The Catholic Bible. Before you all jump out and go running away, a lot of people don't realize most of the Protestant religions actually started out of the Catholic Church, and then the Protestant, which means protest, people protested against the Catholic Church and left the church. The 99 hammered on the wall, on the door. I don't know if you know about it, but there was an individual who was protesting the church and listed a whole bunch of problems he had with it and put it up there, and that's where the first Protestant church was supposed to have come from. And then all the other Protestant churches branching out like trees came from all those, because, well, we believe in the Trinity. Well, we don't. We speak in tongues. We don't. All the different divisions started happening where everybody divided off and going into their own churches. But people don't realize the Catholic Church is the grandfather of it all. And the Catholic Bible, which still has in it what the non-Catholic Bibles, the Protestant Bibles, for lack of another word, right now no longer has what are considered the non-canonical meaning of canon, or basically legal, is the religious term for it. There were more books in the, and still are in the Catholic Bible, that are not in the Protestant Bibles. Books like 1st and 2nd Maccabees and Wisdom and Sirach, and I've read them all. As a matter of fact, the Catholic belief or understanding of purgatory is based off of a single verse in one of the books of Maccabees, just to give you a little background on stuff. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not pretending to be one. I'm not trying to be. I'm a pastor of my little ministry group here on Facebook. I've taught Bible studies. I enjoy sharing the word with those. I don't force it down anybody's throat either. I'm sharing these videos because of anybody who's in interest. I'm not going to do an altar call. I'm not going to try to pray for you or over you or anything like that. I'm not trying to push anything on you. I'm sharing with people who are like-minded if you are interested. That's all. I don't like when people do that to me, but I'm about respect, and I'm respecting by doing that, in my opinion. And you don't have to agree with me, that's fine. But for those of you who didn't know, and again, I'm just going back to the topic of the Bibles and their different translations, that's the Catholic Bible has these additional books. And let me say something to you King James purists, and you might get a little upset with me about this, but I don't know if you realize this, but when the first King James Bible came out, it had those canonical books in there, but just considered as non-canonical. And many of the, matter of fact, when the first King James Bibles came out, very rarely did any of them, were they identical. There was mistakes or changes, or because it was done, they didn't have printing presses, they were doing it all by hand copying. Not until, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, you know, I'm sure I'll get comments on this if I miss this, but I think it was 1875, was when they, basically the Gutenberg Bible, when people started putting together Bible printing presses and mass producing. Of course, the Bible's the biggest selling book in the world. When they, that's when the Bible finally all had the same stuff in them. Prior to that, there were differences, there were mistakes, there were, you know, transcribing or different translational beliefs and understandings. So, I'm bringing all that up just because I'm trying to tell you, the reason I'm using this Bible is the one that I have right now. I need to restore my Bible collection, as it were, that I once had. And just let me put it this way without going into the whole story, because I've already run too long already. I had my Bibles stolen. Not kidding. So, enough about that. Enough about everything else. This was supposed to be a daily reading. I've gone on about half an hour now already. But I just wanted to share a daily reading. But since we're coming up on a weekend, and again, it's going to take a while for me to upload this to YouTube. But I appreciate y'all joining me. I wish you blessings and the best. I see my hair is a little bit of a mess in the camera image I'm seeing back here. But I do, again, I want to thank everybody. Let me just run through real quick again for those of you, unless you're going to be, if you want to hang in there, I'm going to ask you, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where one of these videos is getting posted. The other video is a live video going to my ministry page. At least that's where it's supposed to go. I'm using a new laptop. Hopefully it's doing well. Please, if you're interested in purchasing my books that I sell, I am an author, and I sell exclusively on Amazon. If you put my first and last name into the search box at Amazon, there's 2 books available on there right now. Again, I want to thank my fans from all over the world. Although my fans in the Philippines are probably not on right now, unless you're up late, because it's 2 in the morning there. I've got fans all the way around the world. I've got a lot of fans in the Philippines, one of the largest English-speaking populations outside of the United States. That's why I market my books there. And my company, Rissmiller Media, its slogan, Food for the Mind, just like food for thought. I'm trying to produce videos and books and stuff to help edify people, to help enrich their lives, and share with them my thoughts, education, and hopefully these videos will last longer than I do and help people for years and years to come. And one thing I'd like to do also real quick here, I'm going to start offering myself up, well that doesn't sound right, but for appearing as a public speaker. I've got a hell of a story. That's bad wording on my part. Scratch that. Edit, copy, paste, delete. Just kidding, it's live, I can't. But in church appearances, I would ask for basic travel expenses and lodging, and if you want to throw something extra for me, that would be awesome as a blessing. But I would do that, you know, just for the basic expenses, because I can't really foot the bill on, depending on where you're located. But I do have an awesome story to tell, and I'm going to start. I want to do a lot of church type events first, so I can build up a video catalog, and then I want to branch out to do more public appearances, public speaking, motivational speaking type events. So if you're interested, or if you have a group, or if you have a convention coming to your area and you'd like to have me come do some autograph signings and things of that nature, let me know and we'll see if we can coordinate something. If you want to be a booth babe or booth dude, and if you don't know, if you came in late, you can go back to the beginning of the video when this is done and find out about that again. Join my groups. Again, this is going to my ministry group, although I might post it on other pages and groups as well. And like my pages, subscribe to my YouTube. Share, please share everything on my pages, my groups, this video, and all my other posts and videos that I have. And again, I applaud you, my fans, and I thank you, and I appreciate every one of you, and God bless you, and I hope you have a good day. And I'm going to end this here before I start rambling about something else again.